Howdy citizens, welcome to Brewing TV. You know, Dawson, there has never been a better time to be a home brewer or a craft beer lover.
You know what, Jake? I think I agree with you. The reason I agree with you is because of the opening of Northern Brewer Minneapolis. That event, the coming together of the homebrew community with the pro brewing community, with the beer-friendly non-brewing community, it was just awesome. It reminded me tangibly why I love to brew so much.
Me too. So come along with us as we visit our new home away from home. All for brew?
Brew for all.
Yeah!
Guitar solo.
Guitar solos, this is the billboard.
Let's go to the liquor store.
Yeah.
This is what the new Northern Brewer Minneapolis store looks like now. This is what it looked like at the beginning of the summer. A large empty space with really gross colored walls that needed a lot of love. This was our blank canvas, and we wanted to paint the best homebrew shop we'd ever seen. So we began planning and construction on the building.
Being homebrewers ourselves, our vision was guided by what would we want in a store. And in the end, we got just what we wanted. A comfortable retail space, clear-cut signage, a wall of beer kits, winemaking equipment, an open access grain room with a huge variety of grains. And this amazing space for demos, classes, to host guest speakers from the homebrewing and pro brewing worlds. We've already started bringing you long-form videos from these events online at Northern Brewers Connect page. Our hope is for this space to be a resource not just for homebrewers in the Twin Cities, but for homebrewers around the world.
Actually, we went ahead and we threw some in for first wort hopping, just for good measure. Not on the recipe sheet, but I don't care.
On opening day, Brewing TV did what we love to do most: fill the air with the glorious aroma of malts and hops. We brewed 4 different beers in the demo space that day, 2 all grain, 2 extract. We met some fans and had some fellow guest hosts stop by.
Our first 2 weekends of being open were filled with events aimed at fostering and furthering homebrewing and craft beer culture.
In the end, you get wort, which is called wort, which is unfermented beer. And then you add yeast, brewer's yeast, and that's what actually makes the beer.
First up, a visit from the NSC Minnesota Stars soccer team. They won the North American Soccer League Championship this year. We asked them to bring their trophy by the store for fans to see and share in the victory. And to mark the occasion, Northern Brewer, Mr. Jake Keeler specifically, is creating a beer kit in the team's honor. I call this one Shining Star Pale Ale, after the team's slogan, Shine On. As a soccer-playing beer geek myself, I know it tastes good after a game. I wanted something light and refreshing, but with some hops to give it some bite. My test batch included some Pilsen malt syrup, Kristen steeping grain with Palisade, Columbus, and Centennial hops. Perfect for fans to tailgate with before matches.
And we have a few that actually homebrew too, so.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, they'll roll up with something they made for a certain occasion. And
Yeah.
one of the guys just does like a, I think he calls it his like Nessie Drool ale. I think it's a brown ale.
Yeah, the goal of this is really like, it'll hopefully be a kit that, you know, if people support soccer, it'll be a one way to support soccer. But for the Stars, you know, it's to build momentum for the 2012 season, bring some recognition to them and some awareness, but also hopefully the fans, it'll give them something to do to get engaged with the team and the season. You know, they can brew this up and then bring it to the tailgating before a game or take it on the road for an away game. So it's just another way to get involved and marry those two things, soccer and beer, which I think are just awesome. They go so well together. Yeah. It's like if you got a trophy and it had a big bowl at the top, how could you not put beer in it? I'm just saying.
After the Stars event, we hosted a Q&A with Jerrod Johnson, one of the brewers at Surly Brewing Company. Surly has been in the news a lot lately around the Twin Cities for their growth and expansion plans, so we wanted to talk with Jerrod about those issues, as well as his background in brewing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you grew up in North Dakota.
Yes.
You guys like to wear red flannel. Garth was wearing red flannel as well. He's a no-dat guy.
Yeah, I didn't even realize until I moved from North Dakota that there were other kinds of shirts.
There really isn't.
You know. There isn't.
But you kind of cut your teeth as far as the brewing scene in Portland, is that correct?
Well, first in Eugene.
Okay.
I was a home brewer during college in Eugene, Oregon, and was a pizza cook at Steelhead Brewing.
Okay.
And you know, I'd get most of my grain and yeast from Jamie Floyd, the head brewer at Steelhead, and you know, over time we kind of turned out that we just had very similar music tastes, and that's what got me in the brew house. You know, he invited me back, and you know, over the next few years, I organized a lot of homebrew competitions with him, and you know, did all the odds and ends, cleaning kegs, just basically the grunt work of a brew pub. Learned a lot from that guy. He's actually gone on to start Ninkasi Brewing in Oregon, so that's, I don't know, they're growing faster than Surly is. From there, I spent several years trying to work under a guy named Van Havig at the Rock Bottom in Portland. They had this great whole hop set up there, so we didn't use any hop pellets. Had the hop back. It was a little 8-barrel system, but you know, in addition to hand graining out, you also had to take the hops out with the rake. Yeah, I worked with him for a couple years, and then decided I needed to get back closer to family and in the area, and saw a posting for the Surly brewing position, and didn't realize at that point that Todd, the head brewer, was also a Rock Bottom guy. So, you know, I brought it up to my boss, to Van in Portland, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty good friends with Todd, and you know, if you feel like I'm a hard ass, wait until you work for this guy." And you know, that's what I was looking for. It's like, yes, I take this profession very seriously, and I could never work at a brewery where people don't take sanitation and other aspects, you know, as seriously as we do.
Now, I mean, obviously, probably everyone in this room is pretty aware of Surly's expansion plans, and you know, don't want to put you on the spot, but you know, where is that at right now as far as location possibly or timeline?
No comment. Well, we're hoping to have a site selected by this spring.
With the new brewery, have you guys talked about how big you would expand your portfolio? And along with that, is that going to give you a lot more opportunity to do that experimenting?
We all have our theories and our hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And I think most of us are hoping that the original brewery will basically become our lab, you know, our little laboratory place to, you know, infect beers with random nasties and you know, play around with other styles, you know, and hopefully we'll also have a small, like brew pub size system at the new brewery. I mean, none of these things are set in stone, but they're definitely ideas that we keep putting in Omar's ear and hope that he's hearing them. You know, because we all would like to experiment more.
The very next day, we led a discussion with Kristin England, whose facial hair you might remember from Brewing TV Episode 1.
A lot of the times when I would make a kit recipe, it wouldn't look a lot like the all grain recipe. But what you always try to do is you try to make the same flavors. You got to get there by different means a lot using extract kit, just because you don't have access to you know, the plethora of ingredients you have for all grain brewing for homebrewers.
Besides being an award-winning home brewer, he's soon to be a pro brewer at Poor Decisions Brewing Company. He's also part of the team of organizers behind the Upper Mississippi Mashout homebrew competition. And if you've ever been around Chris, you know he typically has a lot to say.
I mean, the first thing you have to realize when you start making beer is that, number one, you don't know anything, Number 2, don't trust anything you read. And number 3, unless you verify it first. Number 3, never trust the interweb, no matter what, as you know. And number 4, trust your own palate. In my original notes, the first, I've told this story numerous times, but the first few recipes, there's these just angry notes scribbled into it. It's like, you know, what the hell is that taste? What's that butter from? You know, this has got this bleach water thing. Then I was going through and I just read this just random thing that said, if you don't filter your water, especially city water, the chlorine in the water will give you this chlorine. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what it was. Next time through, never had that problem again, you know. And that's another key. For any brewer or anything, or chef, just make sure you take notes. Thorough notes, not your abridged versions. After you had too much to drink that day and you jot a few things down. It's like as you go, take the time to do it, because if you have to troubleshoot anything, or if you specifically like something, especially when a recipe changes. I mean, once you get switching over to the pro side, once you start making a recipe over and over and over and over again, you know, a new lot of malt will come in, you'll have to do your calculations, see exactly how much extract you get out of it. New hops come in, it's going to be a little different. But all in all, you're making the same thing over and over, so you have a process down. When in the home brewing world, a lot of people don't make the same thing over and over. They want to keep making new things. And if you finally hit one that you like, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like you'll taste the bottle and like, oh, it's not very good. Then like a month later, you'll find a case, you'll taste it, this is awesome. And you go back and look, what did I do to this? And you go back and you look at your notes, and you're like, oh, it has the date, and it has the recipe with a few things scratched off, and like scribbles on the thing, could not get this, you know.
That's me.
Yeah. and if you do want to make it again, or if one of your friends like, I really like that, can you make this, can you make that for me? You know, it gets to be a big time problem. Well, you get to a point same as cooking, you cook with enough ingredients, you know exactly how something will taste. You may understand that you may not like this with something else, but it's good on its own. So as you start doing different recipes, seek out trying to use not every ingredient just because. You see a lot of people like, okay, I've never used this, and this, so it all goes in at once. And then you're like, oh, that was meh. But each individual one of those ingredients may be wonderful, but you never get that out of it. So as you go, I mean, I've made thousands of batches on various sides. You never have to do, if you're trying different ingredients, I mean, you can always go through, use a more professional method. You want to try a new malt, you know, have a nice, I have a couple 2-liter, the French press coffee presses, and steeping some grain in there, doing a little mini mash, making a little mini beer. I mean, that'll take 20 minutes of your day. I mean, then you can try all different combinations. And as you're experimenting with different beers, you can experiment in the fermenters as well. So as you make, say, 5 gallons of something, you can put them into 1-gallon fermenters or even 2-liter fermenters. It doesn't matter, and add a little bit different something to it, just to see what you like across the way. If you have a beer you like and want to change just the smallest thing about it, that's the best way to do the most things. Then you bottle them up. You bottle them up and you taste them blind with people that know about beer, they don't know about beer. Then you'll have an understanding of how all the ingredients play with each other. Same goes for hops.
It's a hobby that's growing in popularity. Today we had a Northern Brewer to show you just how easy it is to make beer at home.
The next week, we were on the news. WCCO reporter Rachel Slavic and photographer Brad Early came out to shoot a segment on the growing popularity of home brewing.
Usually fills the house or the apartment with a nice kind of like oatmeal cereal smell.
Okay. Not an alcohol smell.
No, the alcohol isn't created until the yeast does its job.
We had a great time showing them the basics behind brewing. And Chip got all jealous watching me work my magic with another videographer. Don't hate, celebrate, Chip. The following weekend was something really worth celebrating. The city of Minneapolis officially proclaimed Saturday, December 10th, Minneapolis Homebrew Day. Northern Brewer had a little get-together to honor the day. A lot of homebrewers and pro brewers showed up to commemorate the event.
And whereas Minnesotans have a strong can-do attitude, we roll up our sleeves to help our neighbors, we cut our own firewood, and yes, we make our own beer. Therefore, I, R.T. Ryback, not me, him, Mayor of the City of Minneapolis, do hereby proclaim December 10th, 2011 as Homebrew Day in the City of Minneapolis, in celebration of the grand opening of Northern Brewer's flagship store in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis acknowledging home brewing, I think it is just a nod towards the change in the culture, at least from the government standpoint. I think we live in a very beer-friendly community with the home brewing. Lots of home brewers. We've seen an increase in home brewing over the last several years.
Minneapolis, when I moved here, I realized that there's homebrewing clubs that are huge and they're real supportive of the stores, and the breweries are supportive of the homebrewing clubs, and it's just it's a real nice community, and it's nice to see that the mayor's office is recognizing it. I started as a homebrewer really young, 15 years ago. My first homebrew batch was, I gave it to the product to my dad for Father's Day. And my mom said, "So now that equipment, you can't use it again, right?" And I'm like, well, we don't want to let it go to waste, right?
Homebrewing is my latest hobby. It's my latest obsession. I got started after watching some Brewing TV episodes. I've been interested. I've been a beer lover from a long ways back, but watched some Brewing TV, listened to some Brewing Network, and the fire was lit. There's no stopping it.
The first time was that there wasn't any, or there was a lack of good beer around, and being a college student, you know, you can't necessarily afford it too, so I made my own with my friend Mary, who's been doing it a long time, so she kind of nurtured me along.
Yeah. Well, I was hearing earlier Omar, you know Omar, of course, early. He got his start here with you, right?
Right there.
Yeah, there he is. But he was one of your early customers back on Grand, right?
You can ask my wife. I've taken over a portion of the basement. I've been brewing in the garage, in the kitchen, any place I can get a brew in, whenever I can get a brew in. You know, my weekends got a whole lot more busier, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're testing batches all the time, and it's a homebrew deal. You're only brewing 20 gallons, so we put them in corny kegs and we sample them out of the fridge, and we're homebrewing all the time.
Going pro, it's a little different because at least at a bigger brewery, you're brewing the same beer, the same recipe over and over and over again. So kind of the creative outlet is on the homebrew side. And that's where you make your Chipotle porters. Or one December day when I was home alone and saw a bag of grain sitting on the floor and like, maybe I could make some beer out of that. What do I have to bitter it? Nothing. I was out of hops, so I used my Christmas tree. So, you know, it's that kind of stuff that you get to do when you homebrew, and you know, I ended up dumping the beer, but it sure was fun making it. What would it take for me to stop homebrewing? I'm not sure that there would be anything that would stop me from homebrewing. We brew outside, and we even do it here in Minnesota in January and February. Yeah, it's hard to see where the boil is, and you need the flashlight, and sometimes you have to guess.
For me to stop homebrewing, it's going to, I don't know, someone's going to have to steal all my equipment. That's about the only way it's going to stop. And even then, I'll just produce 2-gallon batches on the stove, you know. I don't know that there's a way to stop it.
If you want to experiment with new flavors, if you're creative in any way whatsoever, you should make beer, because you can just mix whatever you want together and end up with a great product. And there's nothing more rewarding than opening up your fridge and going, brew this. You know, it's just awesome.
In just a few short weeks, Northern Brewer Minneapolis has already become a home sweet home for us and for the local homebrew community. Aside from shooting Brewing TV here from time to time, we hope to bring you more videos of guest speakers, brew sessions, and demonstrations from this space at northernbrewer.com/connect.
And while December 10th was Homebrew Day here in the Twin Cities, we all know that wherever you happen to live and brew, every day is Homebrew Day. So celebrate right now. All for brew,
brew for all.
Happy Homebrew Day! Ow!
Don't hate, celebrate.